We are so excited to share our podcast sponsor for this season of Millennial Women Talk, the American Heart Association Hispanic Serving Institutions Scholars Program. The mission and vision of the HSI Scholars Program is to provide an academic year of scientific research experience, professional mentorship, leadership skills, workshops, and cultural competence training to promising undergraduate students at HSIs. The program aims to prepare future physicians, nurses, researchers, healthcare administrators, and public health professionals. The HSI Scholars Program will also award a stipend scholarship to a total of 30 students, representing institutions in Florida, Puerto Rico, Chicago, Houston, New York, and Los Angeles.
As Latinos ourselves, we strongly support Hispanic serving institutions across our country. The inaugural year of the program was widely successful, and we are thrilled to announce that 30 new finalists will be a part of the second year. Students who are a part of the program will have the opportunity to attend the American Heart Association Scientific Session in Chicago this year and get connected with the association's healthcare network that is ongoing and could lead to potential career opportunities. We want to thank the American Heart Association Hispanic Serving Institution Scholars Program for sponsoring this season of Millennial Women Talk. We are honored to support their mission of serving diverse researchers and healthcare professionals by providing undergraduate students with academic and career-enriching resources.
Our community deserves access to education in order to build better health equity. If you or someone you know is interested in entering the HSI Scholars Program, check out the link in the description for more details.
And now let's jump into today's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Millennial Women Talk, the podcast. My name is Melissa Kirkache.
And my name is Stephanie Kirkache, and we are two sisters and also the hosts of Millennial Women Talk, the podcast. On today's episode, we got to speak with three incredible individuals. These are the scholars of the HSI Scholars Program, and they got to share their stories with us, and it was so inspiring.
It was so inspiring, and it was just such a powerful conversation. They talked about their entire journey of getting into the program, what that was like, the sacrifices they had to make, the challenges they faced from housing and their families, how they juggled all of that. So it's such a great conversation for anybody that's getting into the field of STEM or really in college in general. So you're gonna learn a lot, you're gonna feel inspired, and we really hope that you enjoy today's conversation.
Let's jump into today's episode.
All right, I want to welcome you guys to Millennium Women Talk podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
No, thank
Thanks
you.
for having
Thank
us.
you for inviting us.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
I'm so excited to have you guys on and just to learn more about your experience in STEM, right? And also with the HSI program. So many questions, but first and foremost, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and a little bit about you as well?
All right, so I'm Daisy. I'm 23 years old. I just graduated from the University of Houston with a biology degree, so woo, go Cougs.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm actually heading out to New York in August to go to grad school and just kind of figure out my path from there.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, and so my name is Bryan Medina. I'm currently a second-year biomedical engineering student at U of H. I'm currently in Boston, though, pursuing a med school internship.
That's amazing.
Hence the office.
Hence the office. For those who are watching, definitely check out this episode so you can see Brian's office and where he's located. And Irvin, tell us a bit about you.
Okay, so my name is Irvin Solano. I'm a senior at the University of Houston downtown, major in biological and physical sciences, minor in sustainability. And, a little thing about me is I love to network, so I love to talk. That's where pretty much all three of us are kind of similar in that aspect when it comes. That's how we connected through this program. We just spoke a lot.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little about what made you interested in STEM, and Irvin, we can start with you. Kind of what was that process like? Why did you get into it? What kind of sparked that sort of idea and said, I want to get into STEM?
Honestly, what really, I had a very dramatic instance, growing up. I actually lost my brother to a gunshot accident.
Oh, wow. We're so
Not an
sorry.
accident, but yeah, but just being there, like not knowing like what to do, because he died just from blood loss.
Wow.
Paramedics were able to get there, and pretty good timing, but they were I didn't even know what to do. So that was probably the major turning point where I was like, I want to learn how to prevent this. Not, since I couldn't do it back then, I could do it now. And so that's what really skyrocketed that pathway towards medicine. Yeah.
That's really, really powerful. And thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable with us, because it comes from a personal place for you, right? How was your family when you decided to get into the field? Were they supportive? And how was that journey like for you?
Well, I'm a first generation student, so they honestly don't understand it, which is kind of hard sometimes to, whenever you're going to school all the time, you're doing all these extra things, and they're always wondering, hey, when is the money going to start rolling in? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so that's where you have that kind of issue. But other than that, it's just been, it's been hard for them to try to understand what I'm doing. They initially thought I was already going to become a doctor as soon as I get out of my bachelor's, but that's not the case. That's never the case for anybody. Whenever you're first generation, they think you're doing all these other things. But yeah, but overall, I mean, it's been a journey for the most part, a fun one at that. But yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Brian, tell us a little about you. How did you get involved into STEM? What's your story?
So let's start from the very beginning. Let's go back to elementary. So you know how we have English, math, science, right? Those three
Yes.
rotations.
Which
Science
I
is always
know I
fun,
wasn't very good at.
Well, you see, I excelled in science and not so much in the other fields. Maybe a
Okay.
little bit in math, but it's nothing like science. Seeing volcanoes blow up and building circuits, etc. But what it really hit home is growing. Growing up, I was raised mostly by my grandparents as well. So my grandpa had a heart attack when I was 7 or 8, and so that's the environment that I grew up on. A lot of hospitals, a lot of medical centers. So that's what I grew up seeing. That's all I kind of ever knew. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did have a childhood, but kind of makes you mature a little bit faster, and seeing kind of makes you realize what you want to do and how you want to do it. And like Irving, it's feeling really vulnerable and helpless. Your loved ones being taken care of by somebody that you have no connection to or barely even know for that fact. So wanting to be that person for somebody else, being trustworthy, and knowing that the patient, as I progress forward, can fully trust me as I help their loved one.
I love that. It's for you, it's a sense of service. It's of being almost another family member for that person going through whatever they're going through, right?
Yes, yeah. So as I progress through life, I keep recognizing that because I've earned a lot, I've earned money through many different pathways, but nothing feels as good as helping somebody else. Like
Oh yeah.
not nothing, no amount of money can ever be enough compared to whenever you help somebody get through something, even the small things.
That's a fact. That's
I'm
powerful
loving
right
your
there. I love
journeys.
that.
Daisy, let us
Yes.
know, how did you get involved in STEM?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I think the passion definitely stemmed from the field itself, just science and math. I know when I was like in elementary school, in middle school, those chemistry, biologies were some of my favorite subjects. And I think I remember once I like even had like some sort of, it was like a science fair, and I had won third place, and I was like, this is definitely for me. Like this is something I want to do. And I didn't really know which route to go through. But I knew that for me, it definitely stemmed from like a place of service. Because I can remember whenever I was 15, my first job was actually being a Zumba instructor. Like I got certified, and it was like, oh, it's a whole thing. And one of the things that made me the happiest was seeing some of the people that came into my classes lose weight and be healthier and be happier. And it was just that kind of like feeling of I helped you outdo something that I wanted to pursue. So easily the first track was medicine, right? Like that's the first thing that everyone's told. And so I went into college, and I started biology degree so I could go into med school. And then, throughout time, my path changed a little bit. I started seeing different things. I started getting into the OR, shadowing people, and that's kind of how I got into perfusion and the other field.
That is so cool. Very, very cool.
Do
Yeah.
you guys feel
Thanks.
like when you discovered that you did want this career path, was there many opportunities for you guys to like see like eventually what brought you into the HSI programs? And was it difficult or was it challenging to find many opportunities other than, of course, the HSI?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I guess I'll start. It's always been hard finding research opportunities as a first generation student, mostly because, your parents, well, as a first generation student, your parents aren't the ones who helped you get there, right? It's almost like you're a pioneer. You have to find your own way to get to that place. So a lot of institutions still run on the basis of how much experience do you have before coming into our program. So it was definitely challenging trying to sell yourself, but I know that as a person who's really passionate about STEM and you're really passionate really just about any field, you create your own path to get where you want to be. You lead the way there. So as a first generation, so the first thing you could do is, start getting into shadowing, starting talking to people, what positions are getting opened, trying to talk to mentors, meeting mentors, and just kind of like selling yourself. That way you can finally get to the position or to the right person that believes in you so you can get in to these opportunities in these programs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's always about networking, right? And finding ways to get in. I think, that's such an underrated way of really doing anything in life, but especially in education. I think a lot of folks, especially, our Latino community, they kind of forget that that's an option that if they do that, they can move ahead. I want to chat a little bit about the challenges and sacrifices made, right? Because as first generations, there's so much sacrifices that have to be made. Bryan, let's start with you. What's probably the biggest sacrifice that you made along your journey?
Oh man, sacrifices are in every single department of your life.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
time
yeah.
with your friends, it's time with your family. It's even some fighting within your family, trying to get them to see the vision that you have. Like Irvin, the thing is like once you make it into college as a first gen, the rest of your family thinks you made it. That's like you're the one. But it's not like that. And then as I'm trying to become a physician in physician sciences, the the barriers just get higher and higher. The accolades you have to reach get higher and higher, and there's a lot of sacrifice that go into. So let me actually answer the question. It's time with your parents, time with your family, time with your friends, money. You have to be very wise with how you invest your money as you progress, and a lot of social sacrifice as well. Because in order to reach the top, you have to be at the top of your class or at the top of whatever you're doing, and with that becomes a time requirement. So saying no to your friends when y'all want to go out. Like right now, it's the NBA finals. I got some internship work that I had to do, and some of my roommates here were like, "Hey, are you going to the watch party?" I'm like, "Man, that watch party starts at 10 o'clock. I got to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning the next day." So it's sacrifices like that, little things that can add up and can be very stressful and can give you anxiety. But just realizing and staying grounded to what you're trying to do and who you're trying to become, it will help you get through anything.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a little bit about, missing out on things like that. Do you struggle with that idea sometimes of like, man, I'm giving up maybe my youth or my 20s, or, do you ever struggle with those thoughts as a young adult?
So yes, and especially because where I come from, in my part of Houston, it's full of chemical plants, and so you can get a
Wow.
2-year degree at a community college and make six figures. And so that's a traditional route that a lot of people take. So I'll see them on social media, buying houses, buying the cars, buying this, buying that, living their grown up life. But and that struggles during the semester. But as soon as I land internships and I start to see and be a part and be here where I feel like I belong, being at a hospital, shadowing, working with physicians, doing research, I realized like, man, here, take the house, take the money. This is where I belong. I really like it here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, like I said, it keeps you grounded, and it helps you see the vision. And that's going back to the previous question, where it's like, what are the barriers on internships? And it's like, if you can land one opens 10 other
Wow.
internships.
Yeah.
Wow.
Irvin, I would love for you to share like what has been for you a wow, I did that moment in this whole journey for you.
I mean, oh, funny story about that. I've had many instances where I've been, just I have to take a step back to see what I've done. Because I do a lot throughout the semesters. Again, going back to that one question about the struggles. I mean, financially, it's one of the biggest ones. Same thing that
Yes.
Brian was saying was that, you can get a 2-year degree and be making six figures, and you see all your peers, making all this money, and then your parents are coming up to you like, hey, so when are you going to start making money? When are you going to start contributing to our household? Because that's how
Yeah.
our culture is, and it's like that's where the difficulties
Mm.
come in, where it's like like where you don't know what you're doing, like you get that sort of disconnect where you're like, is this worth the time, and is it not? And then
Mm.
same as Brian said, the moment we land those internships, those opportunities were, again, one of the main ones that I was just kind of had to be like, wow, I did that, was whenever I got asked to represent the American Heart Association at the South by Southwest EDU as a panelist, and that was, what undergrad could say they've done that, and that
Yeah.
was, it was crazy, I was ecstatic, I was happy, and it was a great experience. So much so that, again, like Brian said, once you get that first experience, it opens up many doors. And I got to be a panelist for the System Conference, which is the leadership conference for all University of Houston system schools. And so I was a panelist for there as well. And again, it's like these are moments where I'm just like, wow, I did that, and it's like, despite, again, like Daisy said, the many barriers we face every single day, it's like it's a lot. But at the same
Talk to
time,
us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about those barriers that you guys are feeling.
I mean, first of all, it's like whenever you're first generation, you are setting this, you're setting the path for everybody else following you. I have two younger siblings. They're my main motivation to why I do what I do. They're the reason why I'm considering graduate school. I'm setting the bar as high as I can, to, leave a legacy in that aspect. But again, it all comes at a cost where, you start struggling about, different opportunities you might be getting. Other people are privileged enough to get, those research opportunities even before they get to college, and as a first gen, you don't get that type of experience. You can network, you can do as much as you can, but sometimes you just don't meet the requirements, or, there's always some minuscule details that you just can't get them. But like Ryan said, the moment you get one, that changes everything. And that's how I feel what happened with the HSI program, the scholar program, that opened up so many doors for me.
That's amazing. Brian or Daisy, do you want to share on this question? Sort of your
Yeah,
perspective?
so I think there's a lot of cultural and institutional barriers that are set on
Yeah.
us from the very beginning. Now I know we've been talking a lot about first gen, but it's the first gen that has to learn how to do college. Now, there's a lot of
Mm.
experiences that whenever I have my kids, I can share with them. I can tell them, I can navigate them.
Yes.
I can show you like, hey, this is what you do and this is what you don't do. This is what you apply for and how you do it, how you get in. Throughout my collegiate career, I've learned how to write an amazing resume, cover letter, etc. All these things, making connections, knowing how to network and snowball network. And that's at the end, aside from your academic merit, is what gets you to the top. And so, you're not taught that from a very young age as a first gen or even in a Hispanic culture. Everything's about grind, 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 and make a living and repeat the process, uh,
I love
and
that.
support the family
Right.
instead
Right.
of reaching your dreams. And in some Hispanic households, reaching for your dream can make it seem like you're trying to leave the family, or you're not trying to contribute, or you're not a part of them anymore. But that's not the case.
Right. Exactly. Daisy, would you love to share too on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, mostly what Brian said, I agree with. Whenever you're a first generation student, um, your parents don't understand what you're doing necessarily. So having to set the boundaries of when they can interact, when you can interact with them, when you can start
Mm.
hanging out with them, when you can set time for them is so is such a big is such a like challenge for them to like really understand. But once you get over that, everything, becomes about you and like what you can do. And then aside from that, trying to figure out what path, because there's a million paths you can take to get to medicine and to get to these, STEM fields. But figuring out the one that works for your specific situation it's a challenge in itself, right? Some
Yeah.
of us, we have to mature a little bit younger because we have to take on, jobs so we could pay for the necessary things we need. Some of us have to maybe move out of home in order to focus on what we need to focus on. So there's so many different challenges that as a Latino community we face. um, but I think the end goal is definitely to just keep pushing forward and to find your path and what works for you and stick with it until you get the desired outcome.
Yeah. Did any of you guys, and anybody can jump in on this one, have to make such a major sacrifice like what you were mentioning, where you had to set boundaries for your family, move out of the house, not have enough money to continue your career? Like, did any of you guys go through anything really, um, you know, challenging where you felt like maybe I can't even continue my career?
Um, if let me speak first. So
Okay.
I honestly had moved out a couple semesters ago, and that was just because, again, with the household, they don't understand, and also out of respect for me and to my family. Again, when you live in a single household with everybody in there, you also got to be mindful of other people's time. They're going to sleep, they're going to go to work, and I
Right.
can't be up at 3 a.m. studying because I need music to study. So I can't have like music blasting and keeping them up. And so I had to take the initiative and move out. And no, that was already a struggle in itself. And before that is like, they don't support me financially. So that's something that I'm having to do on my own. So that's why I do a lot of stuff at school. I'm a mentor for 3 different programs. I work as a social media influencer for my school. And again, all of these come with stipends and, but it also comes with the time cost as well.
Hmm.
Having to dedicate time for those programs and then study for school and then work and then it's a bit overwhelming sometimes. I tend to not really put too much thought into it, but those are some of the like sacrifices I've had to make. And again, same thing with like Daisy was saying is like I couldn't make time for my parents sometimes and they couldn't understand that, and it was a bit of a challenge having to figure that out.
Right.
I bet.
But it sounds like you all have the common goal of the bigger picture. It's your future, right? It's what that means for your family, what it means for our community as Latinos. Like, what does that all mean? And I feel like, you know, you guys have all mentioned some personal goals and motivations as to what that drives you. But it's safe to say that that's it. That's the driving force. It's that big picture goal where you're just like, if I don't do this now, this will never happen.
Yes, and I mean, because we all three of us talk a lot about our personal goals, but I think I can speak for the three of us that we want to recycle this energy. We want to recycle this this idea of helping Latinos elevate and level up as we reach our professions, and even myself at the level that I'm currently at is like for the next batch of HSIs, I'm looking, I'm surveying which Hispanic person needs this, which Hispanic student needs this opportunity, this research experience, and so I could put them on.
I love that. And
And
that's
and as
so
I
important.
level up, I want to keep doing that and create pipelines through institutions.
Yeah, I mean,
That's powerful.
yeah,
I
so
love
sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I mean, what Brian just said, that's literally, again, I'm a mentor for 3 different programs. And again, my school is a HSI school, is also a Hispanic serving institution. So when the few STEM majors that I get to meet, I talk to them, and I had a couple of them apply for this round for the scholar. So hopefully, I'm still waiting to hear back from them, letting me know that they got accepted or not. But I
Yeah.
helped prepare them. I told them what I did to get in, and you know, just like Brian, we're establishing that pipeline because it's one thing that we got the opportunity. Now it's time to pass on the torch to somebody else.
Yeah. And I
Love
think
that.
one of the things that's so important, like with the rising popularity of social media platforms and everything, is if we get the opportunity to, why not share the tips and the resources and all of those advices on these platforms, right? Because as we know, there's a big there's a big community of basically college students that are on these uh, on these social media platforms. So it's like, if I'm not able to find someone personally that I know, I will be able to speak on my own
Mm.
behalf, and hopefully somebody online can see what I did or see how I got into these things, and they can follow something similar and just, use those resources. But definitely and especially on challenges as well, when it comes to how to find housing on campus,
Yeah.
how to apply for student loans, how to raise up your credit score, all of these things that sometimes you don't realize how important they are once you
Mhm.
finally account or find that challenge.
I love that each one of you guys are so, you're passionate about the work that you're doing, but just as equal, if not more passionate about really spreading the message around this and also helping everyone else out, right? In your communities. I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and that's really how, our Latino community moves ahead. It's by reaching your hand back and helping the next person in line, to help elevate them, like you guys said, and help them to succeed. Because as you guys know, because you've lived it and are still living it, it's such a process and a journey. And who not better to follow or listen to somebody who's been there and done that. And that's so beautifully said. What is the one thing that maybe you wish you knew before you even got into the field of STEM? Like that one thing that you're just like, I wish I would have known that, and maybe not pursue the field. What would you guys say that is, Brian, to start with you?
That it was not
Yeah.
as easy as I thought it was gonna be.
Oh.
In high school and middle school, everybody wants to be a doctor, everybody wants to be a lawyer, everybody wants to be somebody. So what I there's to be honest, looking back, everything that has happened in my life has molded me and created me to the person I am today. So I can't really say that I want to look back and tell myself something. But if I had to, it would be to resiliency. And no matter what happens throughout your life, if you have that goal, you have to chase. No matter what happens, no matter if everybody and their mom is telling you that you're not meant for it or you can't do it, or even that self negativity and that uh, self harm. Tell yourself, no, I'm like that. You're not capable. It's battling that and knowing that if you can get over yourself, you can get over everything.
Mm,
So resiliency is what I would tell myself.
that's a good one, Brian.
That's great. Daisy, what would you say to yourself before you
I
started this journey, if you can?
So coming into the program, I'm actually surprised to say that research is not for me. You know what I mean? Like, research in itself isn't something that I would want to continue pursuing. But if I would have led this life of low confidence and not applying myself to programs, I would have never figured that out. I would have probably just signed up for a graduate program and pursue this at a later time, and then figured it out way later. So one of the things that but I do wish I could have known as a younger self, is to grow more confidence in my skills and in my like resume and in myself, right? Because if I would have been a little bit more confident, I think I could have been applying myself to more things and just jumping straight in to any opportunity that I could have found. I wouldn't have been waiting for that, I guess, that moment of, oh, well, now I have this on my resume, or now I have the better GPA, now I can apply. I would have just done it, very early on. Like, maybe I have a low GPA, but maybe I have a low GPA, but maybe they'll believe in me. Maybe they'll see
Mhm.
something else in me, right? Maybe they'll
Right.
see that I'm more passionate about it, or even competing in mathematics earlier on, or something like that. Because I know that there's certain fields that I sometimes wish I could have tapped in, just to see if that would have been something I was really interested in. But obviously, now that I'm older, I'm kind of getting into that flow of whatever I'm interested in. I'm in my 20s, go for it. Just go try it out. Why not?
Yeah,
I love
I love
that,
that. And you're learning that at a very young age.
which is great. And
Thanks.
Irvin, what about you?
For me, just don't restrict myself to, what I have in mind at the time. Because there was a point in time where I did pass up a lot of other opportunities, um, that, I don't regret not taking. But at the same time, now recently I've been taking up other things that, I'm right now, I got some internship in a marketing agency. Again, as a STEM major, but that's just so that I can help understand how marketing works and also help give that information out. Because it's, again, I started I became part of the social media influencer program at my school. And through that, I'm using that as a voice so that I can, tell other STEM students like me that, they're not alone. And funny story, like was last week, I had some random person from, I don't even know where they're from, but they texted me and they asked me, they're like, hey, so like, how was your experience with the HSI Scholars Program? And at first I was confused. I was like, how do you know that? But then I remembered I made a TikTok a while ago, showcasing on our trip to New Orleans to the stroke conference that they offered us to go. And I just made a collage of like my experience, how I had fun, how I met other students from HBCUs, and Brian was there in the videos too. And you know, it was a bit like a surreal moment. I kind of realized that, this is the way to communicate to people. Like Daisy was saying, although I'm not there physically, I don't know her at all, I was still able to help her out and, redirect to the right people that I know who she should contact. And that's something that I should have told myself before, so I could have gained other experience in other fields or maybe other, again, technical skills like marketing. Like that's something I'm currently working on.
That's amazing. You guys are just so incredible and inspirational, and
Yes.
we want to thank you for not just being on our show today, but for truly paving a path for our community and really making a huge change. And like I said earlier, reaching your hand back and helping the next person in line. You guys are just insane. And I know that you guys are going to have incredible, incredible careers. And I want to
Yes.
congratulate you on that.
But before we let you guys go, I want to ask each one of you guys, what is the best advice that you can give to any student right now who is looking to embark on the journey to STEM?
Go ahead, Daisy.
Oh, I would just say go for it, jump straight onto it, focus on your classes, but also do those, apply yourself, build your resume, and just go for any opportunity you want to do. Just do it.
Love that.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll go. So there's something I tell all my mentees, all 80 mentees that I speak to is step out of your comfort zone. Nothing, the greatness doesn't happen within your comfort zone. You got to step out of that zone. The moment you start doing that, you start making changes to yourself and others around you.
Amazing.
I love that. And Brian?
And for me, it's that you are capable, regardless of your background, regardless of your gender, regardless of anything. You are capable, you are enough, you are powerful. You can do this. And it's not going to be easy. Life is going to happen. Obstacles are going to get in the way. Horrible things are going to happen, but just stay focused on that one thing. And again, you are powerful, you are enough. A theme that I've noticed between the three of us as we speak about ourselves is that there was a lack of confidence at one point. So trying to instill that confidence from a very early age or a very early point in someone's academic life or career life, that's the main hitting point for me.
I love that.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your time with us and for sharing your stories. Ultimately, you guys are all individually truly inspiring, and keep on doing what you guys are doing. You're doing amazing.
All right. Thank you for having us. And again,
thank you so much.
I want to give shout out to Mitzi Cardona. She
Yes.
is an inspiration to me too. Like, if you ever get a chance to see her in work in action, you'll be surprised. That's my always striving goal, to have the same amount of work ethic she has, because she can get things done.
Yes.
Oh, that's
We
so
love
sweet.
Mitzi.
We love Mitzi.
Shout out to Mitzi.
Yeah, Mitzi. Thank you guys so much.
No, and
Thank
thank
you
you.
for
Y'all are
having us.
inspiring. What you guys are doing, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Got the whole studio going. I was impressed immediately.
Gosh.
Yeah.
All the women y'all interview, amazing. I love it. I love the energy. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you
so
guys.
much. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
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 We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to learn more about the HSI Scholars Program, please check the link in our description for more information.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And most importantly, leave us a review. This helps us to continue to bring you great conversations just like this to you every single week. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.